Welcome. Got quite another elaborate spread today. I'm kind of like shaking off, like you could say, the ego vibes, the ego vibrations. People's hearts from the gym. You could say that are just kind of in that. Again, trying to be the baddest monkey on the planet mindset. It's like it's hard when you are like so open. When your heart space is so vast, it's very hard not to pick up on that vibration. And maybe you like encounter that as well in places that you go, but you know, it's like you just gotta like shake it off. You gotta like do what you need to get out of that bad vibration. Because again, like when you meet people, when you talk to people, even when you're interacting with people, like just like as in like in the same room, it's like your frequency has to lower to their frequency for like things to like exist, for like reality to exist, right? So you like feel those bad vibrations, and like you kind of are like, you could say, like drained of your high vibrations. And like I'm very much not a fan of it, you could say. But you know that's what flying too close to the sun will do, you could say. It's like you are so attuned, you are such a high vibration that when you go somewhere in a room, it's like sometimes your high vibrations are just like being drained. And you know you are, don't forget, you are like the charmer of the flame, you are the charmer of the sun, you could say. Like you have charmed even like spirit, right? So you are such a high vibration, but sometimes you will go out there and experience people's low vibrations like getting into your field. Um, and like what is like the only way I can heal from that kind of thing? Doing a reading, or like watching a reading, having someone like kind of like bring me, or me bring others up into the high vibrations again. And that's like getting rid of the lower vibrations that like I absorbed, you could say. So that's the thing, like that, like how do I say this? Earlier in the day, I heard like you have no idea how absorption, not like how absorbing you are. Like you absorb everything, right? Again, you are that void, and to a point where like you absorb literally anything that you come across, any vibration, any frequency that you come across. And it's like you do that passively. It's like your secret weapon, right? When you like watch anime, when you listen to songs, when you watch good movies, and have like a good day, you absorb all that energy so well. But when you're around negative energy, you absorb it so well, unfortunately, right? So but here's the cool thing, you guys, like never forget this, right? Never forget this. It's like we are the reflection of spirit, right? Like we're like looking in a mirror and seeing spirit like full on. So a lot of beings just can't say that. And like not only they can't, like they wouldn't, they don't even know like what that would mean, why that would mean. It's again, it's like it's being on a lower vibration, a lower plane of existence. And when you kind of crack that ceiling, that's when you, funny enough, it's like you're in the light until you like break through as the moon, like with your shadow, to then truly see yourself in that light. It's like truly be that moon. And I think, like, honestly, at this point, I would rather be a moon that reflects the light than a sun that is, you could say, like only in the light. Because it's again, it's like remember when I was saying having to like condense your mana? That was like the only thing that worked today, was like condensing my mana as much as I could, being the moon, like being the lamp, not like the light itself. Sometimes when you walk outside, like be the shadow, be the moon. That's what I'm hearing. So but like never forget, you are like this reflection of spirit. So you like eat your ramen, drink your water, like heal yourself. I just watched like Katara heal like the entire gang, you could say, the Avatar gang. And like heal yourself. Make sure to like when you get back home, like eat something good that you can like literally just be in like passive joy about, kind of like do 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 kind of thing. It's like um, heal yourself when you come out of those bad frequencies. Make sure that you do, like always, because we are so absorbing of everything. We are so absorbing of everything that we consume, and everything that we get. One of the percentage, everything that we come across, like we absorb it. here's the thing, like whether we like it or not, whether we like it or not. So, like you can feel it, right? I'm like, I don't even feel like myself right now. It's like, that kind of vibrations that I just had to deal with for like an hour and a half straight. So it's like, um, like this is like the way that I heal. And of course, like again, like God uses everything, right? So I could be like, oh man, like my vibration is so low now, and I'm like, I'm a little like, tense, you could say. But if anything, like this is like someone needed to hear this reading, someone needed to hear these words. So like I'm happy to be used. I'm happy to be, one with Spirit, even in the bad times, even when like He needs me to speak about the bad times and speak about the hard times of like, getting out there and like, experiencing life, even the bad parts. And it's like we want to like, we wish we could stay in heaven all the time. That's what I'm hearing right now. We wish we could stay in heaven all the time, but it's like easier said than done, even just when you're alone. But when you walk outside, way sometimes it's easy, right? Sometimes you're in the right place where you're feeling in heaven, like everyone is like feeling your vibration. Sometimes it's like the opposite. You're in like a literal like ego hell, you could say. That's, yeah, confirmation for coming. Like maybe kind of like tap my heart as well. It's like, I'm really feeling that from the heart. It's like hell is ego. Hell is ego, that again, like trying to be the baddest monkey, right? It's like, we're all eternal spiritual beings wrapped in flesh, right? Just as Christ, said that He is and we are together as we are one, right? And people being stuck in a, you could say, and I mean this with like, there's like two sides of this coin, right? A human mindset. Like we can think of Lloyd's human mindset of being like the true like God human mindset, and the other human mindset being again like just trying to be on top, just like how do I say this, like battling passively to you know like I'm hearing like like vampire bat kind of thing. It's like again like they like drain your energy passively, and you'll like hear it. You'll like hear their feelings. Isn't that a strange thing to say? It's like you'll hear the way that they feel, full on. And again, how do I say this? You are a knighted, you are a knighted dragon that devours the dogma, and like you are like the epitome of what an angel should be, right? And I was watching season 2 episode 2 of 7P, and Jirel, he was like watching Lloyd like do divine sorcery for the first time, and he was saying like I can tell from this kid, like he's very like he's very honest, you could say, like very himself. His true feelings are always worn on his sleeve, right? And like he has like the gentleness and like the compassion and like the truth of an angel, right? But like again, like when he was fighting Jiro to begin this battle, he's like, you demon spawn. Like he was that like freaky and loving the battle. And that's the thing. It's like you need both, because like you need both to, yeah, 117 on the percentage. Like you need both like luck and shadow and light to like survive truly in this world, like to where you go outside and you go in like a bad place, you could say, like like, you got to be prepared for it. But like even though you're prepared, you still pick up on, you still absorb all those vibrations. You like need, like if anything, like you need like both like the demon side of you and the angel side of you to work together, right? With your light, with your shadow, to still be able to love every moment. Because again, it's like it's hard to love feeling bad vibrations. Am I wrong? Like, isn't that a true statement? It's very hard to like love the bad vibrations. Like I love being sore. I love like even like a little bit of pain sometimes. It kind of reminds you you're alive. What do I not love? Like just feeling bad, right? I'd rather like be in a little bit of pain or soreness, right, than like physically, than feel any sort of bad vibrations. And again, we unfortunately absorb that so very well. But don't ever forget that we are this fellowship of master magicians. And if anything, we should be like focusing on how to like either like condense our mana to here so we're not picking up on anyone's heart space, or like create like a literal barrier like Lloyd does, like a heavy duty barrier that you like envision at all times when you're outside. And that's like hard to do. And I've like I've practiced that. I have had like successful times, as I was saying that one testimony of when I was in door-to-door sales, and those people were like really like talking out loud to make sure that we heard it. They just didn't like salespeople, you could say. And again, I put my coworkers that are very sweet and kind, like none of us were like d-bags, right? Like d-bag dirty salesmen. But I put them in this Gojo's like infinity of like putting someone in a barrier. And it's almost easier to do to other people, like for other people, than it is to make sure like you're in that space yourself. But you can use anything. Gojo's Infinity, even Malevolent Shrine, like whatever, like who cares? Like make sure you. Oh, now I'm hearing it. Like make sure you have your domain expansion up at all times when you walk outside. Like make sure, full on, like make sure, and especially when you're around people. It's like have that domain expansion up, like full on, like like even like hold your like you don't have to like show everyone you're doing this, but like you can like use your hand seals to make sure that it's like up at all times, like whatever you need to do, make sure you're in that barrier, like full on. It's like that's the way to protect ourselves. And funny enough, how do I say this? So I'm hearing like this is what like the Holy Spirit really wants me to say. He's always shown me that the Holy Spirit is like Kurama, is like that demon fox, like that like monster, absolute monster. I'm thinking of Fenrir from camping, like My Absurd Skill, like some cooking skill, campfire cooking in another world. Like that Fenrir being the Holy Spirit, that like that monster within you being the Holy Spirit, and you fuse, you could say, like all parts of the Father, Son, Holy Spirit within you, magical fusion and the fellowship, like the grand circle, to for you, the Father, Son, Holy Spirit, to be one. It's like you see, like you're like the red-haired one, and like they're behind you, always with you, and like you fuse with that. And like the Holy Spirit, like Spirit is like this monster, right? It's like total monster. And like you like cook for it, like you could say like you eating good food. It's like that's what Spirit, like you could say, loves from you the most. Like you feed Spirit, you could say, like not just with food as well, like you feed Spirit spiritually too. It's like it's a cool thing. And like you have your like okay, so right after this, one second, Christ is saying again, we talked about it before, like grab your sword. Like there's a like think of like the Sun Hashira, like the Sun Breather, like not Tanjiro, but like the predecessor, like who I see Christ in, of course. Like I have a poster of like him just reaching for his sword, and I've like traced that and like held that right there to like to the point where like there like really is, like you could say, a spiritual sword there. And he's saying like Christ is watching you. Christ is watching you do that, and like that is when you again, like how do I say this? Like you are not unarmed spiritually. You have even your spiritual armor. That is like you becoming a master, right? So you have you can even say the armor of God, right? Like the shoes of the gospel of peace, belt of truth, breastplate of righteousness, helmet of salvation. It's like you can. Here's the thing, like my wife had me create spiritual armor, and I'll tell you guys about it. So on the back, right? So it'd be the sun, right here, like kind of like a like the sun symbol, right? The moon here, and Polaris, like the star, like Polaris, like the throne room, you could say, right on my nape, with a cape that is like you could say like a universe, like a galaxy, like of a cape, right? And I have like our like sigil, which is like a heart with like infinity sign in the middle and with wings and like a crown, you could say. It's like royal love, you could say, right? And funny enough, like just a little like addition, it's like it's all white armor, and she's told me my aura is like the color in between sunset and twilight. It's like that kind of like blue. So it's like that would be like the outline trim of it. Like even like you could say like the tint of it, right? And like one more addition, you could say, like I'm just giving you the details to like kind of like show you guys what I really mean by ethereal armor. Like it's like it's not just armor, it has like your traits, like your full on traits. And when I hold her hand, that's when like whenever I step, like there's like light in my footsteps. You could say I'm leaving like a trail of footsteps of light. But it only activates when I'm holding her hand. Like that, those kind of conditions, these kinds of symbolism kind of thing, like a literal like Gurren Lagann almost like galaxy cape, right? It's like you're like a galaxy of a cape, like a universe of a cape, like that's flowing behind you. Like there's no wind, but it's flowing behind you. It's like create that kind of armor. And imagine having that armor with a barrier up, with your aura condensed to here. Like that is like, I gotta write that down. I'm just gonna put for me, armor, barrier, wow. Armor, barrier, aura. What is that spell? Abba. Come on now. That's like, really the Father, that's what the Father needs. I'm looking at the Spirit card. That's like, Spirit saying that's exactly what the Father needs. That for us to be armored up, barriered up, and aurored up at all times so that our energy doesn't get drained, car message, so that we don't have to like come back and like literally heal ourselves again. Like guys, it really ticks off Spirit I'm hearing. Because like we have the ability to be able to defend ourselves, but like we forget. And again, like how do I say this? Humanity's greatest and only weakness is forgetfulness, right? That is it. Just forgetfulness, forgetting who they are, forgetting abilities like this, forgetting to put on their ethereal armor. If anything, like forgetting to put on their demon king cloak before they walk outside, like their cape. It's like that kind of thing. It's like he'd even be okay with you, like again, like acting like you're the demon king, right? But like like again, like evilly aligned means you choose what is good and evil. Like no one does it for you. You judge off your own heart's space and ability to judge good and evil, to figure out which is which. And again, like you could say like those concepts don't actually exist, and that's exactly right. That's why you should be evilly aligned, as in those concepts don't exist. Quite actually, that's what it really means. The concept of good and evil does not exist, but you don't like judge your heart, right? You don't judge your own heart because your heart has been purified, weighed, and balanced. Again, the feather in the heart, like your heart being light. So even if you walk outside as the demon king, like you have a heart of light and a pure heart, and like you even like literally you still like give everyone compliments, everything, everything is still beautiful and like heavenly, you could say. And you could also be like even like the king of the angels if you want. Like who cares? Like like you can have both sides of the spectrum. I'm just kind of like trying to take the fear of like being who you need to be when you walk outside, because like I'm telling you, it's like having to come back and just heal. It's like, man, like what is this world kind of thing? Car message and 7-Eleven on the timer. It's like like you're just how would I say this? It's like it's important for us to be spiritually strong so that when we go outside and experience those things and we come back exactly as we left, we don't see the world like passively in our heart as something to have to like battle in, you could say, right? So that's like very important, I'm hearing. And the Father, Son, Holy Spirit are saying go forth, and they're saying go forth, Dragonling. Be excited instead. Be excited, and like that's like Yui the universe, right? Again, like the game avatar. Like if like this planet had an avatar, right? That's like Yui. So be excited to go outside, because that's the thing. That's what you'll attract, right? If you're excited to go outside, even if you're doing something mundane or like even like say like going to the gym, confirmation burp, right? Like I can learn from this for sure. I gotta be like excited to get there, excited to like maybe like I know I'm gonna see like good people this time. I know I'm gonna like not feel that bad energy, and to the to a point where just you walking in, like God led you to go at the perfect time, had people leave at the perfect time, like had like the true bad egos like be not there kind of thing. And again, so like the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit are saying, go forth, Dragonling. Be excited, because that is how you will find Yui being in your favor. Like Yui, again, like the universe, right? Making things happen for your favor and having you not lose any energy on the way there, when you're there, and when you're leaving, right? You come back the same spiritual, eternal, God, goddess self that you are when you walked out that door, right? So I know it's like kind of more of like a darker reading I'm feeling, but like I think again, like I heard like think again. It's like it's not like this is like the true light. Wow, cool. Like I appreciate you saying that, Spirit. To be honest with you, like I need a hug. Like guys, like 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 I used to have like a really bad ego, right? I used to have like a really bad like zoo mindset when I was in the gym, and again it's like all I'm seeing is a mirror of my past self, just like when Jinwoo is like about to fight Igris and he has to fight like every sort of even people that he's had to fight, like the knight, the assassin, and like the mage, and the archers from like the ice elf kind of arc. But or that was actually after, but you get what I'm saying, right? So it's like, when you do have those experiences, when you do have those bad experiences, right? You can be certain that you are just experiencing a past like version of yourself that is like putting up a mirror of how you used to be, and it's like it almost brings you into like a moment of shame, but it's also like a moment of like, get that damn thing away from me kind of thing. And that's why I hear like, spirit being ticked off, you could say. It's like, like me and spirit love working out together, but it's like, it's like a risky business, you could say. That's what I'm hearing. It's like a risky business of walking, even just walking outside. It's like that kind of thing. But going to a place like a gym, like I'm like, again, like I am like forced to look at a mirror of ego, of like who I used to be, of like the, again, like the gorilla mindset of just like, being territorial all the time. And even for a while it was like, always having to get out of the gym, and like, before I kind of realized that I was just picking up on people's energy and like seeing mirrors, there was always like a like confession of like, I'm sorry for being so territorial, like, to spirit. And he's like, you're okay, like don't worry, but it's like, we can work on this, and like these experiences, me having the same experience and being able to make a reading about it, make a message about it, you could say, 111. It's like you're using everything, even the bad, to create good, and yes, wow, this is so cool. So it's like, you are not that dark ruler anymore, dark ruler no more. You are like a pharaoh, you are like a king, you are a queen, you are a priestess, you are a priest, a prince, a like, I mean like heavenly priest, heavenly princess, right? And like a heavenly prince, heavenly princess, that's who you are. You're not this dark ruler anymore, but sometimes you have to like, go and see like who you buried a while ago, right? Like put in the sarcophagus to like be sealed. Like you have to go and see that sometimes. That's what I'm really hearing. And Christ is saying, go forth, like go forth, shadow warrior, go forth. And I'm seeing on the other side of this card, go forth and instead be this like jellyfish of joy car message going by, of saying, I'm just gonna go with the flow. I don't have to be that dark ruler, but I do have my shadow. My shadow will do the fighting for me. I'm just gonna keep being in joy. My shadow is fighting for me. So it's like, again, when you're in those places, in those situations, just be that joy jellyfish that is just like, jellyfish are not like, making any moves. They're just flowing. They're just flowing. They're letting anything, that comes through pass right through. Any bad energy, bad negativity, go right through them. They're not like, like trying to like fend it off and, like sword play it, you could say, right? It's like you're not like trying to counter it. That's what I'm hearing. You're not trying to counter it. You are just being a jellyfish and letting that energy just like quite literally pass through you, as if like, that energy, like all the energy is the ocean. And like, that's the cool thing. It's like when you walk outside, it's like God tells me like you're going for a swim. Like quite actually, it is the firmament, right? Like we are in the water. But again, it's like you can think of everything outside being an ocean of energy from like car message, how does this, an ocean of energy, of everyone's collective energy, everyone's collective feelings, everyone's collective hearts. And that's why, like, the angel's sole purpose, their sole wish is to see your heart evolve for that reason exactly. Because again, like a collective subconscious and a collective unconscious of humanity is like creating reality, but even just immediate surroundings, it's the collective heart space, the collective, hearts of the people around you that create that, even that wave of energy, but even more so that like ocean or that tide of energy. And sometimes you turn the tide, right? Sometimes your energy is so strong and so joyful that you turn everyone's energy, everyone's heart to joyful, instead of like, again, like, like being that territorial heart. And that's the thing, like our hearts are monsters, right? But it's like you are the ability to like stop the abuse of bad vibrations, right? You are the ability to like stay in joy. That's like your talent is staying in joy, and your willingness to do so no matter what you hear, feel, or even like psychically process. That's your red, that's your fighting spirit. You keep going. And when you do, like when you know all this, when you have all this knowledge and then put the fighting spirit into it, right, you become that hollow purple, and your highest self steps through. And again, it's like, sometimes you're just red, right? Sometimes you're just like fighting through it, right? Sometimes you're just blue, thinking of like that guy from Astoria. You're just like a ball of talent that is like, like not like, fighting too hard. Like you could say like, it's like, you know who you are so much to where it's like you're just trying not to be rude, you could say. When like you feel these things about, and you don't like let your ego speak, you could say, about like in a judgmental way. But when you mix those two, when you fight with your ability to stay in joy, again, that's like when you are able to be armored up, barriered up, and aured up. So keep going. And here's the cool thing, you guys, like your soul, again, your dragon, is the true keeper of your spellbook of secrets and knowledge. Your spellbook of, like the how do I say this, the way to protect yourself from all this. Like your soul is the one that will tell you. Your soul is the one that will tell you. And never forget, you guys, never forget, like you are the awakener. Like here's the thing, like people really do have, like you could say those, like confirmation, but I don't even want to say demons. That would be like rude. That's how I feel about these kinds of egos. It'd be rude to call it demons, right? So it's like these beings that just do not, like like again, like they do not care. Like they literally just are stuck in like the Stone Age in terms of like building an ego. So you are the one that is unpossessing those people, even if you have to like even take on that energy or take on that like being, right? And like here's the thing, like your shadow is like like you just like cut it down immediately. You cut it down immediately, right? Even if it tries to jump to you, your shadow is just cutting it down. So like don't be afraid, but understand that those people will do their very best to try and bring you down in vibration without realizing it. Again, like people's ego that is like not a true ego, not like a god ego, right? Not a goddess ego. Then what do god and goddesses do? They don't judge, right? That's the thing. So when they are stuck in that ego that does judge, that only wants to like again, like try to be, as we talked about it before, their ego doesn't they don't realize it, but their ego wants to be the only ego in existence. That's the kind of difference, right? Of having a godly ego that does not judge. It might not have to be like the most loving thing in existence, right? It doesn't have to like help the entire world, but your ego is one with God, right? Like your character, that's what I'm hearing, like your character, your avatar is one with God. So you will see people that have an ego that is not one with God. Car message. So brace for it, brace for that energy, but like don't let yourself stoop to their level, even in your heart, even in your mind, right? So like again, that's like when your ability to being a jellyfish, of being in that ocean of energy and just letting everything flow right through them, quite literally, because you're smiling no matter what. That's what God needs the most. That's what I'm hearing. That's when like source is able to like live within you, even in this world's like like hardest places to like stay your highest self. And like I'm really glad I did this reading. I I don't feel the greatest still, but like I'm glad that I was able to I heard like after all this, right, when I got home, I'm like I feel a win coming. That's what I heard. And it's like God saying like, hey, like yes, that might have been hard and that might have been like felt like a loss, but there's a win coming, and this was the win. So I'm glad I can at least be like a vessel of teachings, even when it like bad energy is involved and like bad egos are involved. So if you guys needed to hear this, I'm glad I can give it to you. So thank you for being here. Let's end it off in a good vibration, so I can get back to being fun and cool and like forget. Like that's the thing, forget about all of it. Like, no matter how, even if you like learned lessons from it, even if like you were trying to make it like trying to make it like an experience that like you like you like woke up from, right? Instead, just forget about it all. Just forget about it all. Even if there's like good parts of that experience, right? Of like 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 me making this reading. It's like yes, that's the good from it. You could say it's like I got to have a good workout and have like be strong, hit some PRs. You could say, right? But I would rather forget about it all, because not even remembering the good parts is like worth it when it comes to that energy and that state of mind that you were in. That's what I'm hearing. It's like you have to go back to being like, yeah, like okay, 100%. This is making sense. So it's like you're fighting against those like reptiles, you could say. It's like, again, those like reptilian mindsets of just, just like, how do I say this, like, dragons and lizards, you could say, like, very different. Like, we are dragons that are like in a reptilian world, like, like a reptile world of like, snakes that haven't been tamed yet. That's what I'm hearing, like snakes that haven't been tamed. And you fight with the flame, you fight with spirit. So how would I say this, be ready for it, but know that the best way to defeat these kinds of egos and energy is just simply being yourself. And that's the thing, some people just won't like you being yourself. And you've got to like remember that no matter what, you're a giver. Like, yes, you are a fighter, you are a warrior, you are like a shadow, right? You are a sorcerer, a very strong being. But when you walk outside, it's best to just be a giver that way. Like, even if someone like literally hates you, but like has never told you, like, again, like that's like what the gym really is, you could say, right? But like if you walk in, you're just complimenting everybody. You're like, like in such a good vibration that like, they're gonna be like, yes, they might be like mad that you're so happy, but like they can't do anything. Again, what we talked about in the last reading, that is what will, one of the timer, that is what will keep you, like your ability to stay in joy is the important thing. Your ability to fight is one thing. Your ability to know who you are is another. But your ability to stay in joy, even in the bad vibrations, is like when those beings can't touch you, right? We talked about that before in the last reading. That's how you get past it. So, like, good on us, good on us. Let me return. Just one for the collective. There it is. Yes, like, go be a duelist. Like, honestly, like, be a duelist. Be silent. Even be straight faced and like, not giving anyone smiles. You can have one of two options: smile through everything, compliment everyone, and like make the entire room a vibration, or be that like turn silent duelist that only smiles when it calls for it. But it's like people will see that and okay, like at the very least that person's strong. So it's like you have two options. You can be, both are very strong. Both are very strong. I'm hearing you like making the room beautiful and joyous, but you also being able to survive the room. Both are strong, right? You being a duelist in that room and not giving up, not giving in to bad vibrations. And even if you have to be straight faced about it the entire time, you're just keeping to yourself, you could say, right? 100%. That is like you being the defense force of heaven. You have two options: be a duelist, or like create the heaven in that room, being the heaven in that room. Like you like literally, again, turning the tide of the sea of energy, right? So pretty good place to stop. I love you all. Thank you for being here. Thank you for thank you for understanding. Sometimes I do experience the bad of the world, but like again, I want to be the advocate of like this world always changing. And again, like I see so many comments, and it's like, again, we can't like we should all just live in a community, like in a village together, like Konoha. Like that'd be the best option, where it's like we'd all grow. But it's like just like as a like we're needed everywhere. Like we're needed in these places to like be again the tide, the turning of the tide of this sea of energy. So keep swimming, you guys. Keep swimming. I love you all. If you're new here, thanks for being here. Consider subscribing and liking the video, commenting, whatever you wish. Like don't hold back here ever. Whatever you want to comment. I would never be mad at, even if like you totally disagree with me. I got my first dislike on the last video, like that makes sense. We were talking about, like you being the devil, like that makes sense. And that's like the thing. It's like, again, it's like you're gonna experience people that just like will not agree with you no matter what, spiritually and physically, so be ready for it, prepare for it. And when you go swimming, be a big fish. When you go swimming, be a big fish, even like be a sea monster. So get out there, have fun. Have love in your heart, have light in your heart always, no matter what, and have light here, and condense your aura to just here, so, and like make it very sharp and intense, you could say, so that you're like really protecting your heart space, and have your ethereal armor on. Boom. Love you all. Please take care.